This last week or so, we got some pretty substantial news from Fisker. We have a bunch of concepts. So what we're going to do in this video is have a look at the most production ready concept in addition to the Alaska, the truck. We're going to quickly have a look at that as well, but focus on the Fisker Ronin. So what I want to do in this video is talk about this design, and we also have to mention the pricing of the Fisker Ronin. So let's jump into this article from Car and Driver. I'm going to link it down in the description if you want to go and check that out. It's $385,000, this Fisker Ronin, and will arrive in 2025 with 1,000 horsepower. These are the numbers. These are the crazy numbers of EVs these days. So the production will be limited to just 999 units. The name Ronin, by the way, is inspired by one of the best car chase movies of all time, which is also called Ronin with Robert De Niro. The movie that made me fall in love with the Audi S8 back in the day. So the 1,000 horsepower powertrain will shoot the Ronin into a claimed 2 seconds. I guess they missed to say 0 to 60 here, while also providing a target range of about 600 miles. So according to CEO Henrik Fisker, the Ronin is meant to serve as a modern version of the classic Grand Touring car for people who love to drive. That's a big challenge when it comes to EVs. The convertible sports car has seating for 5, and it's said to provide exceptional cargo capacity. 3-motor powertrain and all-wheel drive, contributing to a claimed 2-second run to 60 miles per hour. Fisker also claims the Ronin will be capable of 170 miles per hour top speed. How much of that 600 miles is going to be reduced once you go over 100 miles per hour? That would be very interesting to see. The Ronin is based around a lightweight aluminum space frame and rides on carbon fiber 23-inch wheels, and we definitely need to have a look at these wheels in more detail. I'm not so sure what's going on with these wheels, but more on that in a minute. The cabin is said to be decked out in sustainable recycled materials and will center around a 17.1-inch TV on the dash. Although the targeted delivery date is only around 2 years away, Fisker did not say where the Ronin will be built. The model shown at Fisker's product launch last week did not look production ready. It was the only vehicle that did not move under its own power. And that, in addition to this interior design, it feels a little bit further than 2 years away. But I do appreciate and respect the ambition from Fisker to get this into production in 2 years. We'll see if they will manage to make that a reality. So here we have the Fisker Ronin. Let's have a look at this design and what Fisker is doing these days. So we do have, I think Fisker is actually, they're onto something here because they have a pretty strong brand identity. They have a fascia that is recognizable as a Fisker because they have this Fisker mouth down here at the bottom on pretty much every single car, even from the earlier models. You can see that the line flow is typical Henrik Fisker as well, with these big, beautiful fenders going both over the front axle, and then we have the same in the rear axle as well. These muscles that goes over both axles. I think it looks really cool, but again, we need to talk about these wheels when we look at the more of a side view. And then we have this integration of the LEDs. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on in here. It feels like these are angled in all kinds of places, these strips that we have inside of the LED, and I'm not sure if this is actually the headlight up here or if the headlights are sitting down in this area. I'm not 100% sure, but it does look pretty good to me. It's not really a design that I would pay $385,000 for, but if this were more like $100,000, I could definitely see that, being a pretty good seller. And then we have this line here at the bottom that I'm not so sure of either, because it cuts in right here and creates this fold in this area. I would like to have this be more of a fluid design or something like that, and not have this cut that we have. See this? the sharp line that cuts into this area. It just feels a little weird to me to have that line there. Looking at the rear view, or the side view in this case, but it actually doesn't look like, you know, typical EV proportions, meaning that it doesn't look like a blob where the A-pillar stretches all the way to this point, like Mercedes, for example, is doing with the EQ sedans. This looks like it does have some definition still in it, and we do have some nice line flow, very reminiscent of the Fisker Karma design with these lines right here, specifically this line at the middle and then these muscles that we talked about. The greenhouse itself looks pretty interesting. This is a folding roof, so there's a lot of engineering going on in this roof section. This being able to house 5 people with this rather short greenhouse. It's a very interesting design, but have a look at these wheels. Yes, there might be carbon fiber in here. I can't really tell because it doesn't look like carbon fiber, but the design of these wheels, you know, I don't like these wheels at all. The reason being, first of all, 3-spoke designs like we have here never worked for me. I never was a fan of 3-spoke designs to begin with, and then they look so complex. And keep in mind that the rest of the body is very fluid and smooth, and then these look like some sort of garbage disposal knives or something. I'm not sure what they were thinking when they designed these wheels. That's just my opinion. I would like to see a lot more cleaner wheel designs, specifically since we have a pretty clean overall design with these surfaces with just a few sharp lines in the body line. So I'm not sure what they thought about the integration of the wheels here. But looking at the rear view, this is definitely by far my favorite view of the new Ronin, because we have this line and we have a clear starting point for all the graphics in the rear end, and then goes in to this section here which houses this LED. And yes, we do have a light bar. This is also a part of Fisker's design language or identity, to have these things right here in the middle of the light bar. They have that in, I think they do have that in the Ocean as well. You can see just how far this rear diffuser sticks up into the body itself. We don't really have any sort of bumper in this case, but I think it's totally fine because we do have a pretty, looks like a pretty aggressive diffuser down here. Can't really see it because it's a pretty dark image. And it doesn't really have this EV vibe to it either. It looks like a cool design. The only thing that I would like to change are the wheels. And then this section, the carves in here, also looks pretty interesting. I'm not sure if this is even legal to put into production, to have this much wheel exposed, because it's gonna throw some rocks and stuff into the back. But I think this is gonna have to be covered up somehow for the production version. Now, the reason why I don't think this is going to be ready in 2 years is mostly because of this interior. This looks like a typical concept car interior. Now, as you know, I'm not a huge fan of these type of interiors, but this is the trend we have now with these big screens and very sterile looking interior. There's nothing exciting going on in here. It's just a bunch of panels with LEDs and ambient lighting and nothing to really touch and, you know, explore with your senses. And that's what I'm against when it comes to these new, very stylistic, I don't know if you can call them stylistic, but very simplistic interiors. But I do definitely root for Fisker to put this into production in 2 years. We'll see what's going on with that. And then they also have this Alaska, which I don't think they've opened the order books for. They do open the order books for the Ronin, but they haven't done that with the Alaska, which is pretty weird because I think this looks a lot more production ready than the Ronin, specifically when we look at the interior. And this front end, again, we have a pretty clear identity for Fisker these days. I think they're doing a great job with their designs and creating something new and kind of refining the Karma design that we have back in the day to create something new for the brand. And you can see that we have a clear starting point, very horizontal hood here with this shelf, and then you have the front end starting underneath this area here, looking very nice. I also kind of like these headlights. It looks like we do have a headlight unit right here with the 2 strips for the LED to create some sort of identity at night. However, this front end in general reminds me, specifically with these lines that I'm sketching out right now, reminds me of the Toyota BZ4X and the Subaru Solterra's front end with these lines and also this big panel that we have up top right here. And have a look at this. It's a truck, but we don't really have a you know, traditional looking bumper. We do have this piece sticking out a little bit, so this would take the hit if you accidentally, you know, drive into something slowly. So you do have sort of a bumper that's been stylized in a way that is pretty interesting to see. Then you have some additional LED lighting down here at the bottom. Not sure if this is a proper skid plate or if it's just for styling. I do miss the Fisker mouth in the front end. We kind of have that here with this section, but I do wish that it was a little bit more pronounced like we have in the other Fisker models, for example. And looking at the side view, the proportions of this truck look really cool. And this is a great example of when you really need to use black graphic to carve out some of this volume, because if we were to have this part down here being body color, it would look very tall and it will look too heavy in my opinion. But I assume that this part down here is where the what houses the battery pack down here at the bottom. I do like these wheels as well. I would like to see this with some more off-road wheels on it, and not these road specific, tires, but the wheels themselves, the design of the wheels. This is what I'm looking for. Very simplistic design. We have almost a 5-spoke design here with some elements in between the spokes themselves. It looks pretty cool and it looks a lot better than the wheels that we have on the Ronin here, for example. But overall, it still doesn't have these typical EV proportions. We have a nice strong shoulder line going right here, very sleek looking roof line in greenhouse that cuts out in an angle. I do like this angle, that we don't have it be upright like this. And then we have this typical Fisker line right here that is also present in the Fisker Ocean. I also like that they squared off the wheel arches and made them look a little bit more off-roady. We could have made them round, but I think for the purpose of having a truck, I think having these a little bit more squared off just looks cool. Looking at the rear end, we do have a proper bumper here, thankfully. This being a truck, this is what we want to have. And we also have, you see these coming back, these dips in the center of the LED light, as we talked about right here, coming back and creating even more brand identity for Fisker. And again, that's what I think they do very well right now. I also like that they have Fisker in huge letters at the back. I do like that. We do have that on the Ronin here. So if you don't notice details like this, which I think 99% of people wouldn't notice, and you don't know what car you're looking at, you just have to read what it says on the back, because this is very hard to miss. These are some huge letters on the back. You have the Alaska logo down here. Very smooth surfacing, and I do like the integration of the LED here. Looks pretty clean and simple. Clean, simple, with some good proportions. And this is the only interior press photo that made some sort of sense to me. You can see that this looks way more production ready than the Ronin over here. You have some shelf here sticking out. I'm not entirely sure what this is, but it does have some cool patterns on it. And then this water bottle is part of the concept itself. To have this, maybe this is like a gallon of water or something right there covering up the screen. It looks like this might also be the 17-inch screen that we have in the Ronin over here. Overall, it's going to be interesting to see what Fisker does in the future and if they're actually managing to put all these cars into production. As I said, I really hope they do, because I do like car companies pushing the boundaries of what's possible and really trying to put their dream and make their dream into a reality. And I think that's what Henrik Fisker is trying to do here. So I wish him all the best with all his models. And I do think that these designs are onto something, specifically when it comes to creating a new identity for a brand new brand.